We got a taste for community. We got a taste for community.
Subscribe now to get all of our latest videos. I recently learned how to make homemade bread, and I want to share this with you because it's so easy and it's so delicious. First, I like to have all of my ingredients measured out, ready to go. We need warm water that measures between 110 and 125 degrees, and this is right at 120. We take 2.5 cups of our warm water and put it in the bowl. To this, we're going to add the sugar and our yeast. We scatter the yeast right on the surface of the water. And now we're going to leave this alone for 10 minutes to activate. And while we're waiting for the yeast to activate, let's mix up all of our dry ingredients. First, we have 4.5 cups of bread flour or unbleached all-purpose flour, followed by 1 3/4 cups of whole wheat flour. Then let's add our seeds. We've got 1/2 cup of pumpkin seeds, 1/4 cup of sesame seeds, 1/2 cup of sunflower seeds, and 2 tablespoons of flax seeds. 2 teaspoons of sea salt or kosher salt. I have some extra seeds here that I'm going to put on top of the loaves before I bake them. That's after it rises. And that's all the dry ingredients, so let's go ahead and mix that up thoroughly while we wait for the yeast. Our yeast is now ready, so we're going to add that to our dry mixture along with our other wet ingredients, which include 3 tablespoons of honey or agave, along with 1/4 cup of oil. In this case, I went ahead and used sesame oil because I love sesame, and there's sesame seeds in this recipe. So let's mix that up until it forms a dough. And now we do the last of the mixing by hand to make sure that all of our dry ingredients get absorbed and everything's mixed well. And once we have our dough formed into a nice ball, we're going to cover this for 15 minutes before we continue. Okay, now we're ready to do what we call stretch and fold. And for this, you want to keep a bowl of water handy to dip your fingers in. And we're going to, just what it sounds like, stretch and fold our dough. We're going to stretch it until we have it stretched enough where we can fold it over on itself. And then we're going to turn 90 degrees and repeat that 4 times. And then we're going to cover our dough up again for another 15 minutes. And we will repeat this stretch and fold process a total of 3 times with 15 minutes in between each round. And with the consistency of this dough, you kind of have to hold down one end of it while you pull and stretch the other end until you stretch it just far enough where it can fold over on itself. And now we begin our 3rd and final round of stretch and fold. And when we cover our dough this time, we're going to leave it to rise for between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on your your yeast and your temperature conditions. We'll leave it until it looks like it has doubled in size before we continue. And here we can see our dough has risen beautifully. We're going to now split this dough into 2 portions, one for each loaf pan. That's what this recipe makes, 2 loaves. On a floured surface, we will shape each portion of dough into a rectangle approximately the size of the loaf pan. Spray the loaf pans, and then press the dough down into the corners of the pan and level it. We cover this and let it rise again for 1 to 2 hours depending on our yeast and our conditions. Very shortly we see it starting to rise, and once it has risen sufficiently, we're ready to unwrap it, sprinkle some seeds on top, and get it ready to bake. The best way to get your seeds to stick to your loaves is by brushing them with an egg wash first before you sprinkle your seeds on. So into an oven preheated to 350 degrees, we put our loaves for approximately 45 minutes. We'll check on them when it gets close. And while this video is mostly about the bread, I want to show you I made 2 different soups to go with the homemade bread, a beautiful cream of mushroom and a very hearty vegetable soup. It'll be a real treat having fresh baked bread with these. One of the best parts about baking bread is the smell. It's so wonderful. These are gorgeous. I can't wait to eat some, but please let them cool for about 2 hours before you cut them for best results. Now that they're cooled, let's get them ready to serve. I like to slice it in nice thick pieces. And don't eat it all the same day because you're definitely going to want to save some to make toast with.
We got a taste for community. We got a taste for community.
Thank you for watching. Please support Easton Mountain by subscribing to our channel and liking and sharing our videos, and visit eastonmountain.org/membership for more information and to become a member.